I've talked about the divide between the 2nd and 3rd districts, with the latter appearing less sensitive to decreases in child support, except in clear-cut situations like job loss or emancipation. Last week, they denied another appeal seeking a decrease in support. In that case, Dad asked for a downward modification due to his ex making more money and his increased parenting time. Ultimately, the judge in that case said no, and the appellate court also said no. But they did take some time to explain why they have been so stingy as of late. Now, this organization, which I'm a member of, rewrote this, and that's the statute setting child support. But they did virtually nothing to the part that modifies support. Specifically, as the appellate court points out, nothing was changed to undo decades of case law that required a judge to look almost entirely at financial circumstances of the obligor before decreasing support. Now, the ISBA doesn't live here, but sometimes I think they occasionally rent out this place. Last week, I posted some charts on Facebook showing how the new child support statute impacts regular people. I indicated how an obligor making $150,000 per year would pay about this amount under the old statute, which only considered one income, and under the new one, this, which is a pretty good deal. But someone making, say, $30,000 would pay this amount under the old statute and this under the new. And if the obligee is 100% dependent on public aid, or let's say we just impute $18,000 annually, that $30,000 obligor has to kick up to this amount. Now, in case you're wondering, in order for this number to drop down to what the old number or the old rule would require, the obligee has to make almost double the income of the obligor. You see, I picked $30,000 for a reason. This is the per capita income of people in Clay County, Williamson County, Massac. If you want to go bigger, here's Rock Island. People who make per capita can't afford attorneys, and they make up the majority of citizens in Illinois. You may recall that I also posted a bare bones budget for my example. There was no fancy dinners, traveling, no movies, etc., and they were still running a little bit in the red per month. First, I do believe in child support. There are a lot of parents, unfortunately, who have no qualms about conceiving a child, but they do when it comes to financially supporting them, and their numbers are, well, they're far higher than any family law reform organization wishes to admit. But the ISBA, I feel, is letting their blue-collar blind spot impact legislation. At $30,000, the number of people who can step it up by, let's say, $408 a month is going to be less than those at $357. Nationwide, it's suggested that only 43.5% of obligees get paid in full each month. You know, if Visa or MasterCard had that kind of default rate, they'd be bust by now. I understand the ISBA points to 505A2 saying, hey, you know, if the person is in a real jam, the judge will probably grant a deviation. All they have to do is self-litigate, right? Which, honestly, by our own statistics, 65% have to. Before you is my, effort to build a computer. I ended up frying the motherboard and I bought the wrong RAM. And I think going pro se is a little bit like this. Some may succeed, others like myself, not so much, right? If it makes you feel any better, attorneys in family law cases, when they're pro se themselves, historically don't fare very well either. Which is why I'm always skeptical of any rebuttable presumption in family law. Ultimately, at the lower income level, the difficulty to litigate a special exception pro se is self-evident. Ultimately, the trick, I think, is finding the right number. You go too high, and the obligors who can't afford to pay the entire bill may not bother paying anything at all. From their standpoint, why bother making an effort if you're going to be in trouble with HFS regardless? And if you go too low, well, it really does nothing to help single parents who are trying to raise their children. The ISBA claims their formula is based off the required costs to raise a child, but curiously, next door in Indiana, which also has a comparative income system, my $30,000 obligor, provided they get 91 overnights per year, would pay just $255 per month. No secret which state has the lower default rate. Anecdotal evidence supports this. 6 months ago I was in Kankakee County. I was waiting for the judge to take the bench on my case. I noticed the AG is there. I start talking. I ask him how many he's got up that day. He replies 70. And I was like, how can you do 70 support cases on a morning call? He looks at me stone-faced and he replies, I'll be lucky if 20 show up. And he was right. Ultimately, the ISBA family law section has to decide whether they want high support orders, at least on paper, or low default rates. Statistics and common sense suggest you can't have both. Anyways, that's all I have. If you want more of these commentaries, hit that like button because, hey, they're free.